Welcome to Get on the Arc. I'm Darren Conrad, your host, and my guest today is CORY HILLIS. Welcome, CORY.
Thank you so much for having me, Darren.
Yeah, so tell us, Get on the Arc, it was inspired. I actually got woken up from a dream. An audible voice told me to get on the Arc, and I was like, Lord, what do you mean? And through a series of events, it was a platform where we can talk about God and how he's moving and what he's doing with people in their lives.
Yep.
And so tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us your testimony and your journey and what you're doing now.
Well, my early stories, I grew up Methodist, and like a lot of people, just kind of went to church, went through the motions, believed in God, prayed almost every day, but I didn't really believe the way a church in San Diego kind of woke me up to it. But I guess in my mid, I was like a more powerless Christian. Thinking like miracles worked back then, and that's not so much today. I don't think like that anymore. And in my mid-20s in grad school, I decided to revisit this thing. All right, like, do I really believe in this? So I kind of started getting into groups, and I kind of became a Christian in my mid-20s. Really, not just kind of going through the motions, but really like getting into it. And then I got sick for a few years, and real sick. It was scary, not just, pain or whatever. It was scary because I didn't know if I was going to live very long because my heart wasn't working right. I felt like I couldn't breathe right. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. My heart is racing for no reason. I'm not having a bad dream. Weird things happened to me about 20 years ago. And as a result, I searched and searched, and that got me into the holistic world because I found a holistic practitioner who taught me some healing modalities. And after I got back to normal health, I would say, I quit what I was doing to try to help other people. So I became a holistic practitioner, learned some trades that were similar. And that's kind of what led me to this EMF solutions thing. I don't know if you can see it's a little, it's got a little like light on it. But so as a holistic practitioner, I realized I had to address the invisible elephant in the room, which was this huge amount of radiation we're being exposed to. If I didn't address it, my clients' needs, my clients' health concerns were going to be very hard to address. And so I studied and prayed. Every time I studied, I prayed. It was just kind of how I do it every time. And in doing that, I honestly can tell you, I believe that I got a download when I was praying and studying, because the laws of physics say that these EMFs, this radiation from your cell phone and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and cell towers and your smart meter and all this stuff, the physicists say, and I have a genius IQ relative that's part of this group, the physicists, the electrical engineers, they say that it's impossible for this radiation to harm humans. And like X-rays radiation, that's called ionic, and it directly rips electrons off atoms. But this lower frequency radiation, which is still billions of waves per second versus trillions, it's not supposed to harm you. So they all just think it's harmless. And so when I was praying, I said, obviously there's 10,000 biological studies showing that this hurting people, but the physicists can't get in line with it because they don't know how, so the two disciplines are doing this. So I prayed and studied, and I believe I got a download of the missing link, which shows how the EMF is converting into a different form of energy when it gets absorbed, and how that different form of energy is malfunctioning something in our cells, and then so on. So when I got this download, I started applying everything to this theory, I guess you call it, and it just worked every single time. Every single time we try to address the right thing, every study we did, every scenario of EMFs, it was really amazing. So we have a company by accident, I call it, probably not by accident, but without God's help and downloads then and since, I don't believe we'd be here at all.
Wow. So what can people, they go to emfhometest.com. Does that share, do they know how much radiation or how do you know how bad your environment is?
Well, first of all, before we move on, I want to thank you for your show. The world needs more shows like yours, especially, through COVID, it was a mess. And so my family, EMF Solutions, we love God. And we are thankful for everything he's done so far to help us help people. But as far as your audience, if they want to get this checked out, I'm happy to give all the information you want about describing EMF, explaining how they hurt people, tell them where to go to find thousands of studies or summaries of, if they want to see all the information that is swept under the rug on the subject, and so on. But to get help, they could go to either our website, or this is a nice landing page, emfhometest.com, and they click on get a free home test at the top of the page. And one of our certified EMF specialists, trained person, will call them and set up a time to either come to their house to test their house if they're close enough. We don't have reps in every city and every town and every state, but if they're close enough, they literally will come to your house with meters like this one, and they'll test the radiation on your devices and in your house and show you that your levels are out of this world crazy high compared to what the safety standards are. And there's 3 meters they use. If they're not close enough, they'll do a free consultation, which is a majority of the time what happens, because we're not in every city and people come from all over the world and country. But you'll get that help that you need. And the only reason that we like to have the meters and go to somebody's house in person is because then you can see the meter screaming at you in your own house and compare it to what the bioinitiative.org says, the experts that study EMFs, that don't sell any products, that don't have an agenda one way or another, and what they say is safe. You can even compare it to what the FCC or the FDA says is safe, and all of your gadgets are way higher than the safety levels anyway. And when you see the meter confirm it in your own house, people are more likely to go, okay, this is real. This isn't some scare tactic thing. I better address this and do something about it.
What are there some noticeable side effects that someone has a lot of radiation in their house? Like what are some side effects that people could?
Well, that's a great question. So when we fix a house properly and everything in it in somebody's life, we get a testimonial about 50% of the time. And we don't address health conditions, medical conditions, diseases, yet that's how often getting rid of this huge stress on you, and it is huge. Like all of a sudden your body has a shift in health, and that's how many people notice it. You can see, put 150 or so of the testimonials of thousands that we get on our website. If somebody is sick or the EMFs are extra bad, the testimonial chances of goes way up from above 50. It's crazy. Now, as far as why you would address it, the symptoms you're talking about include, but not limited to, worse sleep, chronic fatigue, unclear like thinking, brain fog, that kind of stuff, cardiovascular issues, low melatonin production when you're sleeping, cancer, Alzheimer's, a total destruction of our reproductive systems seems to be happening right now. That subject alone, I could do an hour show on. Men, excuse me, men now have less than 50% of the sperm compared to when I was growing up. In every modern society across the world, not just this country, women are getting more hammered, and that's where they're going to fry their eggs and have none left, and then we can't literally reproduce if the animal studies convert over to people. That's a whole nother study. So all of those things, but the thing is, if you don't have any of those symptoms and you go, well, I sleep good, I have lots of energy, and I don't seem to have any of those yet, you're getting DNA damage, free radical damage, and nitric oxide imbalances and more problems inside of your cells. That's guaranteed to happen. And we eventually, a couple of years even showed that when you're next to a router, when human cells are near a router, those reactions are happening in cells, malfunctions, and you're dealing with that. If you're so healthy that you don't notice, that's cool for you, but this is happening. And what's that going to lead to? Aging, a future problem, I don't know, but to ignore this is insane once you start looking at the studies.
Wow. What is there like any kind of, when you walk into someone's house or you see, like, is it TVs, computers, routers? What is there anything that's like clues, like, oh yeah, this is.
All of that stuff adds up, but the worst culprits used to be, and still to a degree, are cell phones, Wi-Fi routers. I'd say in the home and in our lives, that those tend to be the greatest offenders to us. Also, smart meters, if they're near you, that's the the thing on the electric meter outside, that the electric, when I was growing up, the electric meter reader person would come by and the dogs bark, and that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Now it's sending out Wi-Fi signals, radar basically, to the next meter all the way through the neighborhood up to the satellite, and they're getting this constant reading on your house. Well, that doesn't happen by magic. That takes light speed radiation to get that process to happen. So I'd say cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, but now even if you have none of that, the biggest problem now is all the cell towers on the ground and cell towers in outer space, I call them. That's the 5G low orbit satellites like Starlink and the other 39 people competing for that space too. There are thousands of satellites blasting the highest frequency radiation commercially being used pretty much from 350 miles up in a laser beam fashion all over our Earth now. And that is really changing the equation in the last 4 years in a big way.
Wow. So you have a solution.
Yes. So, and it's proven to work scientifically, So when I first was studying this stuff, I looked, first of all, my wife and I were trying to test products because we were practitioners. This is not the gig I was trying to get into. I was trying to be the best practitioner I could be. And we knew this problem, and all my colleagues knew this existed too. And we tested all the products we could get our hands on, and they all worked a little bit, or that didn't work at all. And some of them literally made it worse. And we're like, wow, so this isn't solving the problem well enough. On a cell phone, I had a product that was the best I could find. It took three $90, I don't want to say the product name, but of these little things on the phone, and it still wasn't all the way fixed. So $270 later, what I would sell to my customers, and then the phone's not all the way fixed. It's still this partial. I'm like, this is not okay. So when I started studying, I realized that nobody out there could tell you how the EMF was hurting you. And I'm like, well, if you don't know how, then how are you fixing? How do you fix a car if you don't know what's broken on it? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, I realized that all of these things were helping people. The sensitive people were getting some relief. And then when we finally fixed it out, because I think my God download that I had happened, it all made sense. These things were indirectly, partially helping what we call subatomic chaos, but it didn't directly address it like our products. So that's kind of what happened. Is we had to first figure out how the EMF radiation was affecting us before starting to sell products. I mean, it's silly, before coming up with a solution. So we figured that out. Then we started, engineering something to address what I call that second domino that's important. And the rest is history. So I can definitely get in the weeds of how EMFs hurt people and the science of it. If you think that's something that I can make it layman term and not too bad, but I can get into the science of it. I love it.
Yeah. So, so I've heard if you're keeping your phone in your pocket or if you're leaving it on you, that will, sterilize you.
Well, I mean, this radiation's been shown to do that, and we're keeping it. Men generally keep it in their front pocket, right next to their family maker, baby makers. Yeah. So that is probably a good reason why, our sperm count keeps going down and sperm motility is just being affected so badly. I tell you, my wife, I have a 5-year-old. She's doing the math now, 39, I want to say. Hope I don't quote that wrong, 39. And in her early 30s, when we were trying to get pregnant and then had ours, she had a bunch of friends trying to get pregnant, and a lot, like most, I would say, had to go get help at a clinic or somewhere. I'm like, what? In the old days, the breeze blows, you get pregnant, and it was so easy to get pregnant. Now it's like people are trying. And I think this is the first time in the last few years or so that our population is decreasing. You've heard that, right?
Yeah. And
people are just assuming it's because people don't want kids, so they're not having them as early. But whether you wanted them or not before, I was an accident. My brother was an accident. You know what I mean? He came 7 years after me. I was a happy accident. Of course, they're glad to have me eventually after the first minute of shock or whatever. But, you can plan all you want. But, if you're going to be husband and wife, you're probably going to have some kids, And now it's a lot harder to do, and it's really sad. And people don't ever look to this as a possible reason why, because it's just not in the news. It's not all the studies, 10,000 plus studies and papers proving this are just swept under the rug because honestly, it's like a bigger cover up than smoking was.
Wow. So when you have this revelation and you realize the dangers and the impact, the negative impact on EMF, and now knowing what you know, and you have a product or solution to block it or to minimize it. Beyond that, how is your, what do you do on a daily basis or weekly basis is your life changed? Like, do you limit yourself on the phone? Do you spend less? No.
No, it's all fixable. This is a fixable problem. It's not like smoking where you would either have to be a smoker or have secondhand smoke, or, or just lack thereof. Like if you don't want the effects of smoking, don't smoke or don't be around it. There's one option. This you can't not be around. We're in a society so full of radiation. If you don't believe me, just get on your phone, anywhere and see how many Wi-Fi routers you could log into. That's radiation in your house, in your room, all around you. That alone is just a simple sign. And you could be on Starlink. You could be, so many things are just irradiating our world now. So you just can't get away from it like you used to at all. So I apologize. I forgot what you were asking. I'm a little under the weather. I'm trying my best here.
Oh, no. Well, I'm just asking, did you have an awareness? Did your lifestyle change?
Oh, yeah. No. So if I didn't really believe our products protected us, in like almost completely, like really, really well, there's no way my daughter would use a cell phone or a tablet or a laptop or any of that, those gadgets that kids are all on. But because we can fix them, and I got so many experiments showing that we fix them, that, I totally believe it. So our biggest experiment of all was, so this is a model. I didn't do the heavy lifting on this. I think Dr. Martin Paul is a scientist from the University of Washington State University, and he and a colleague came up with this diagram. Okay, this diagram has the EMF over here, and this is the human cell. Okay, and they helped discover, and they're not alone. This has been done by others too. They're just really loud voices on this subject. They discovered that EMF radiation from your cell phone and all the rest is malfunctioning something called a voltage gated calcium channel. Okay, it's a little door on your cell that lets in double ion calcium molecules. They didn't know how, they just know it's malfunctioning. And when this malfunctions, you have too many positive charges in your cell. When it overloads the cell, you have the nitric oxide problems, the free radical damage, the DNA damage, all that's happening. And all of that, if you're a biochemist, and I'll let them do the talking for this stuff, all of that stuff can lead to the symptoms that I talked about a little while ago. So this is believed by him and many. This is like the root cause of what happens inside your cell that can snowball into possible health effects or symptoms that you may have. The thing that we did is we had a study that has been done 20 some times before us that showed when human cells, we did like different kind of human cells, we put them next to a Wi-Fi router, okay, like a foot away. Yeah. And we saw the same malfunction happening in human cells. The difference is when we addressed it with our products, it was fixed. The calcium channels didn't malfunction. It was a perfect probability function. And in studies, I'm learning, that means it's a guarantee that our products worked the way they were supposed to. The relationship between the malfunction happening and our products was perfect. In other words, we fixed it with a point, if you're a scientist, 0.0001 probability function. And so our products work on human cells. Like it's like a slam dunk. And the thing that's important about this diagram is number 2. So number 1 is the EMF. And then this last one, number 4, is all the problems in our cell. Number 3 has been figured out. 1, 3, and 4 were figured out by other scientists before we got there. We figured out the number 2. Okay. When EMFs, when radiation, these are photons traveling light speed, carrying energy. When they go through the wall, let's say I'm on a cell phone, right? I'm on a call, and the cell tower is over here. When that radiation travels miles in the air, some of it gets absorbed on the way, then it goes through the wall. Maybe I'm in the basement, so it goes to a wall, a floor, another wall, and then finally some of it hits my phone, but a lot of it got absorbed in the house on the way there, right?
Mhm.
It's the absorbed radiation because those photons hit, smash into an electron or another particle. That's the absorbed radiation turns into different kinds of energy. It's not EMF anymore. It turns into a different kind of energy. That energy, some of that is called, we call it subatomic chaos. It's that subatomic chaos that's fooling our voltage gated calcium channels into thinking there's a voltage change, so it malfunctions. And then we snowball into the effect. So our products are so different because we're the only ones that figured that out. And we're the only ones that address the subatomic chaos. We ignore the EMF pretty much. Our products if you block the EMF, then your phone wouldn't work, your cell phone, your laptop wouldn't work, your Wi-Fi router would stop working. You could wrap your Wi-Fi router in aluminum foil 3 times. You stop the radiation, my meter says there's nothing coming out, and then you got no internet. That's no good, right? So we can have the radiation, but then stop that second domino, and then we showed by addressing the subatomic chaos, the calcium channel no longer malfunctions. So we showed that domino process can be stopped when you address the second domino like we do.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, people they contact you, you do a free consultation or free initial visit.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to our reps because you may have a lot of questions after you watch this.
Mm-hmm.
You may have a budget to work with and say, gosh, I don't have the ability to fix my whole home, my car, have a personal product on me, my cell phone, all my gadgets. So I'm just going to, I have like $300. What can I do with $300? They'll tell you like these 3 products will do, half of the problem in your life of radiation is fixed. And, just for a few $100. So the reps can talk to you and find out what you have, what's most important to do first, do those things first. And then you can, prioritize and get it and get the right thing done for you and your family.
What state, like, how spread out are you on the United States? Like, what states are you not available in? And are you looking for reps there?
By consultation, we're available anywhere.
Okay.
So even if we don't have a rep in your city, somebody can call you or Zoom or do a Zoom call with you. And you might not get you might not get this, which is cool to see in your own house, but let me just give you a quick demo. Yeah. So this is a meter. I don't know if you can see it, but it says like 100 and now it says 90. It's like 100 and something. Okay, this measures microwatts per meter squared. It's like saying miles, or feet or kilometers, whatever. So it measures microwatts per meter squared in a radiation range, in a microwave range. So it measures like Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, and stuff like that. So the bioinitiative scientists say that when you go over 6 on this meter, you have biological effects. Right now it's saying, 100, almost 100 to over 100. It's kind of going up, hovering around 100. Now let me take a cell phone and you put it on up here, and then let's see if I can turn it on. So it's doing something. Okay, proving me wrong. There we go. So you can kind of hear it, and now it's going to 1. It says 1. And I'll take the cell phone away, and you can see it's counting down from 2,000. Now it's 400, 300, 200, 100. Yeah. So it goes to 1. That means that cell phone, just turning it on, maxed out this meter over 2,000 immediately.
Wow. So
as soon as you turn your cell phone on, I have another more powerful meter that goes higher. It's my cell phone and other cell phones spike above 200,000 microwatts per meter squared. Now, if the bioinitiative experts in 4,000 of their studies conclude that 6, when you're over 6, they show biological effects, you now know today's phone is ridiculously strong. And it is something that if you ignore, you're insane. Every contract of every person that's listening, when you get your cell phone, there's all that fine print that we ignore. That long contract that nobody would ever read.
Right.
Everybody's contract says that if you touch your phone, you're over the safety guidelines of the FCC. In other words, your phone is unsafe amount or level of radiation. And that's the FCC's guidelines, which is way higher than the unbiased people that don't make money off of anything and aren't, lobbied and so on. So the FCC says this. You'll be blown away if you hear this. The FCC says the safety guidelines based on how much your cell phone heats your head. Okay. Now let's think about heating your head. Now, if you're sitting next to a radiator, that's heat gently coming into. That's one thing. The way your microwave oven heats is microwaves at 2.45 gigahertz to 2.5 gigahertz. That's billions of waves per second. Are flown at the food. It bounces off the walls. It gets absorbed in the food, and when it gets absorbed, it shakes and vibrates the molecules and spins them, and they smash into each other, and that friction heats your food. When you put your cell phone against your head, and they don't even do a test against your head, by the way. The FCC doesn't even test it against your head or a dummy's head they use. So they put it near, not even touching the dummy's head that they say mimics a person, which is another argument in and of itself. And it still heats your head more than 1.6 watts per kilogram of certain weight. So basically, they're saying that even the really high standard of heating your head, and how does it heat your head? By spinning and vibrating molecules that smash into each other and create friction and heat your head. Just like the food in your microwave. That's insane. There should be no acceptable level of vibrating molecules that smash into each other to create friction inside of my body, much less my head. To me, there's no acceptable level. But the FCC says, hey, let's make it here. But over the years, cell phones got so strong, they've never even measured a cell phone touching the dummy or a person, because if they do, it'll be so blowing away their safety guideline. Right now, it's 3 times over just being close to your head. But as soon as they touch it, it's going to go, so far over that they can't even, it's going to be all over the news. So they won't even test it touching you. They say, well, that's not really how people use cell phones. What's called a touch screen. So I don't know how you use a phone without touching it, right? As soon as you touch it, you absorb the radiation, and the levels are astronomical high.
Wow. And what's the average person spend on their day on the phone?
Hours. We live on them, and they're great. Let me just pause by saying I'm not against any of this technology. I'm all for it. The science, I'm a scientist, and I love what science went behind making, like the new fiber optic cables.
Yeah.
They're going to be 400 to 800 times more bits of information coming through the cable than the last version of it.
Wow.
That's some really cool science using some really cool things I could talk about that bore your audience. But I love that the science is so cool, but they're making stuff that nobody's telling them is hurting people. And so they don't realize that it's hurting people. And, if you got people on the show that are big into praying, we need to pray that somebody in the fiber optic industry, like, somehow gets a hold of this podcast or talks to me, because this is going to affect people, and is just putting the new fiber optic cables on the ground in a big way. Even if you don't get the fiber optics in your house, it's just in your neighborhood, you are being affected in a big way. I have people that fixed their house. I got all these great testimonials. I sleep better now. I feel better. I have more energy. And then they put the fiber optics in, and then bam, they revert back again. They need us to come out with some special solution to add more product to address that. So if we addressed it with the fiber optic company, it could be inexpensively fixed. And then everything is fixed in every neighborhood. And that's my ultimate goal, is to try to get a cell phone company to make the product that's already in the cell phone. So when you buy it, it's already protecting you. And we got all the science they need. They just need to wake up to the facts that this is harmful and get it done.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you, CORY, for sharing. I'm like excited. I want to sign up right now. Like, is it, you have a product for phones, a product for like different products for different stuff?
Yeah. So on the back of a cell phone, we have a chip, and our chip, by the way, it's natural materials. Okay. If you go on our website, we can show you one of the 3 ways we have to measure and balance this natural material with the right properties that basically harmonize that chaotic subatomic chaos we talked about. And that's what our products do with nature. One of my videos shows one of our meters that we had special made. that drops in like rocks or sand or different materials, and you'll see it gives a value. I'm not going to say what it is because it's proprietary, but it's kind of cool. So when you put a chip that has some of that material inside on the back of your phone, you can barely see it on the side. My case has a little flex to it, so it fits right over top of it. And that's what you do for a cell phone. There's a chip that comes, a 1-inch chip in this little clip. That's the important part. You clip this on your Wi-Fi router. It's $39. Clip it on your Wi-Fi router, slide it close to the router, and that is something I don't have to worry about anymore. And that's as easy as that is in other devices. The biggest, most important one, if people can do it, is this. This is the home harmonizer. It's called. It's a 4-inch cube. We put this on a pipe, usually on a pipe that goes to your electric meter. That's why this pipe, I just clamped it on, because this is how it would sit on a pipe if your electric meter was like right here, let's say. And when you put this on, this protects you from everything outside the house, which is where most of your harm is coming from now. Before COVID started, this product, the home harmonizer, was a quarter of the strength. So our world has gotten 4 times worse. So this had to go up 4 times stronger than just a few years ago. And almost for sure, I think that's because of Starlink, but a lot of other stuff contributes to it. So that's how fast this world is like getting worse in the EMF range. And we have a lot of canaries in the coal mine out there letting us know when something changed. That's how we found out about fiber optic. I didn't read about it, hear about it. Fiber optic technically should not have been a problem. But when I researched what they're doing, I figured out how it's a problem, and I can explain it to a scientist. But the EMF doesn't come out of there, so they didn't think it's harmful. But my canaries out there are all calling us saying, "Hey, I fixed my house with your products," and all of a sudden, I don't sleep well. I got this, I got that. So we say, "What happened?" They say, "Well, they just put fiber optic cables in my neighborhood," and we heard that over and over and realized, okay, it's a problem. They even some people can even feel it and describe what it's doing. And now that they described it, I can tell you it's exactly what's happening. I can tell you why. And easy to fix, but it needs to be fixed,
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. Go to emfhometest.com. I've already done it. I'm excited to get the test done. And thank you, Corey, for your time today. And
absolutely.
Don't go anywhere, but thank you for getting on the ARC. And actually, if you want to share your story, please contact. If you want to share your story or your testimony, call to get on the ARC. And here's the phone number. But again, thanks for being on the show, and thank you for watching Get on the ARC.